Bonjour. Today's lesson we're going to talk about mots interrogatifs, more specifically, or in English, question words. We're going to talk about how to ask questions. So we're going to start with the word qui, and qui means who. You can also say avec qui, which means with whom. Okay, so how you use qui is it actually replaces the subject of your sentence, and it's conjugated in the same way as il and elle singular. So if we look at some examples, we have qui chante, qui chante, who sings, who is singing, qui chante, qui aime la musique, qui aime la musique, who likes music, okay? Now, remember, we could, if we were talking about a girl, we could say elle chante. Does she sing? Elle chante. Or does he like music? Il aime la musique. Il aime la musique. Okay, so you can see that the way you conjugate it with qui is the same as il and elle singular, just that e ending for the er verbs. Okay, next we're going to talk about a very important phrase when you're asking questions, and that phrase is est-ce que. Est-ce que. Okay, these two words are pronounced together, est-ce que. Okay, and this phrase is used to ask a question, and you can think of it kind of as the do of French. Do you like to sing? Do you have a pencil? When do you think you'll be home? What do you like to do? Okay, so it's just a question phrase that they use in French, just like we use the word do. So in number 1, if we take a look at that example, est-ce que tu danses bien? Do you dance well? Est-ce que tu danses bien? Okay, so you see the est-ce que goes before the subject. Okay, so we have tu danses bien, and we could have that as just a phrase, tu danses bien, you dance well. But if we have est-ce que before it, then we know it's a question. Est-ce que tu danses bien? So in number 2, est-ce qu'il prépare le dîner? Now here I've included this one because if que comes before il or elle, it's going to contract, and it's going to sound like est-ce qu'il or est-ce qu'elle. Est-ce qu'il, est-ce qu'elle. Est-ce qu'il prépare le dîner? Okay. And then in number 3, I've included the avec qui that we had in the previous slide. So avec qui means with whom. So if anytime you have a question word included and you're using est-ce que, okay, first you're going to have your question word. All right. Question word or phrase in this case. And then, we forgot est-ce que. One moment. Much better. Let's start that over. Example number 3. First, we have our question word, avec qui. Then we have est-ce que, and finally the rest of our sentence. Tu aimes faire du shopping. With whom do you like to go shopping? Okay, avec qui est-ce que tu aimes faire du shopping? We're going to say this a few more times. Next we have the word quand. Quand. Quand means when. Okay, and just like our other question words, we're going to see it at the beginning of the sentence. Quand est-ce que tu marches à l'école? Quand est-ce que tu marches à l'école? When do you walk to school? Quand est-ce que tu marches à l'école? Okay, let's look at sentence number 2. Quand est-ce qu'elle visite Seattle? Quand est-ce qu'elle visite Seattle? When does she visit Seattle? Quand est-ce qu'elle visite Seattle? So quand means when. And our responses to these could be depending, maybe you walk to school, and number one, maybe you walk to school only on Mondays and your parents take you the other days. So you could say lundi, or le lundi if it's every Monday. Le lundi. Le lundi, je marche à l'école. Okay? Maybe she visits Seattle in March. Okay? Quand est-ce qu'elle visite Seattle? En mars. En mars, elle visite Seattle. In March, she visits Seattle. Next, we have the word que. Que. And que means what. Okay? So just like all of our other question words, it's going to go before est-ce que. Okay? So we have que, and we have est-ce que, and then we have the rest of the sentence. Now you may notice here that que has been contracted with est-ce que. You see an apostrophe there. Okay, we want to have a nice flowing sound, and the E at the end of que drops, and it moves together with est-ce que, and it sounds like qu'est-ce que. Qu'est-ce que. So even though there's all these words in here and it looks really long, it's actually 2 syllables. Qu'est-ce que. Qu'est-ce que. Qu'est-ce que vous regardez? What are you watching? Qu'est-ce que vous regardez? Okay, second sentence. Again, we have our question word, we have est-ce que, and we have the rest of our sentence. And you'll see here we have 2 contractions. We have one with que and a, and actually we have a small mistake. I'm going to fix that. Okay, here we go. So as I was saying, we have the contraction here between que and a, and we have the contraction here between que and il. And that sounds like qu'est-ce qu'il aime jouer? Qu'est-ce qu'il aime jouer? Qu'est-ce qu'il aime jouer? What does he like to play? Qu'est-ce qu'il aime jouer? Next we have the word for where. The word for where is où. Now be very careful, that accent over the U is very important. If you don't have the accent over the U, just spelled O-U, it means or. This or that, or. So make sure that you have the accent over the U. It doesn't change the sound of it at all, but it does change the meaning if you have it written incorrectly. Okay, so I think at this point, this is pretty straightforward. We have our question word, we have est-ce que, and we have the remainder of the sentence. Où est-ce que nous étudions? Where are we studying, or where do we study? Où est-ce que nous étudions? Okay, and your response could be something very simple. À Robert Gray. Nous étudions à Robert Gray. Now I wanted to include just a few other words, but I didn't want to highlight them too much because we're really not going to be using them very much, and in fact you won't find them on a test for this unit. You will find them throughout the year and next year as well. So they are important words, but they don't work very well in this unit, and so we won't be spending a lot of time on them. So the first one is como, como, and como means how. Okay, and you've seen this before in Comment t'appelles-tu? What's your name? How do you call yourself? Comment t'appelles-tu? You've seen it in Comment ça va? How are you? Okay, so that means how. You can also use como if someone has said something and you didn't hear them, if you want to have them repeat it. In English we say what, but in French they say how. Como. Okay, what did you say? Como. Okay. Number 2 is pourquoi. Pourquoi. Pourquoi means why. Okay. And just like the other question words, you're going to have it before est-ce que. And so like, for example, pourquoi est-ce que tu aimes les films? Why do you like movies? Pourquoi est-ce que tu aimes les films? Why do you like movies? Okay. The third one is a phrase that you can stick at the end of a sentence typically. It's not a question word that you'll see before est-ce que, but you'll see it kind of on its own. And that is n'est-ce pas. N'est-ce pas. Okay, so if you put this at the end of a sentence, for example, tu aimes la musique, n'est-ce pas? You like music, right? N'est-ce pas? It means, isn't that true? Isn't that so, right? Tu aimes la musique, n'est-ce pas? You like music, right? Okay. And number 4 isn't so much of a question word, but is more of a response to a question. And parce que means because. So why do you like music? Parce que. Okay, and you could provide a response. But because you don't quite have the language to provide a full response using parce que, we're going to kind of skip over it, but it is a useful phrase to have. Okay, that's the end of our video. I'm going to wish you bonne chance, and I will see you next time.